Good morning and welcome back to Workforce Wednesday in the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center's Bus to Business virtual program series. My name is Harper Smith and I'm the Senior Manager of the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center and I help direct the Bus to Business program. I want to thank our sponsors, Kentucky SHRM and AT&T, for their investment in helping to bring classrooms to careers, and the entire team at ULIMI for their support through this virtual event platform. As usual, all of our resources are housed on our website, kychamber.com/bus2business. This session is being recorded as well as live streamed to Facebook and YouTube and will be available to rewatch and share after. So whether you're one of the over 75 students we have tuning in live with us on May 5th or watching at a later date, thank you so much for joining and we hope you all learned something new. Today, we will be hearing from a panel from Rajant Corporation. Our Northwest Talent Pipeline Project Manager, Zach Gobert, will be watching in the chat for any questions and will lead a time at the end for Q&A. I will now introduce Alice DeSanto, Associate Vice President of Marketing at Rajant Corporation, to give a brief overview of the company.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So happy to be with you. On behalf of Rajant Corporation, we just want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and each of you for tuning in today to learn more about us. I am joined today by a panel from Rajant, all facing out of our Moorhead, Kentucky manufacturing facility. The panel will consist of David Mays, Chris Graves, Jonathan Lacey, Maria Lemaster, Matthew Harden, Jim Tom Trent, and Brad Fike. And just a little bit about Rajant. So we've been in the Moorhead, Eastern Kentucky area for about 6 years now. But the company is actually going to celebrate our 20th anniversary on October 19th of this year. We started out of the 9/11 and the lack of connectivity that occurred on that day, where first responders, really had a strong failing of communication systems, and both our CTO and our CEO perceived that as a fixable problem, that no one should ever lose communication, and especially in a day and age when we're all so dependent upon our phones and other data sources in order to convey, whether it's voice, video, or communication data. So they fixed it, and then incorporated and have expanded to over 150 employees across the globe. We're in 65 different countries, and we're offering industrial wireless networking. So it's really, that's a kind of a big concept to explain, but I brought with me 2 videos which should make it super easy to understand where industrial wireless networking fits in. The first one is an animation explaining what we do and how we do it. And then the second video, which we're going to go to, is exactly why we're doing business here in the eastern part of Kentucky, and more specifically in Moorhead, Kentucky.
There's no shortage of network choices for industrial enterprises today, but almost all fall short in effectively connecting expansive and ever-moving outdoor operations. Take the 2 most common options, for example. Wi-Fi brings the benefits of very high speed and capacity to support an increasing concentration of connected mobile devices. But this LAN technology is made for indoors and short distances. Move beyond its 100-meter connection radius, and the signal degrades or is totally lost. It simply can't keep sprawling outdoor operations covered. Therefore, many operators think LTE is what they need. LTE's reach is measured in kilometers, and 4G networks have the ability to wrap around and through infrastructure obstructions to achieve wide area coverage. But while great for downstream access, they lack the upstream speeds required for mission-critical apps like CCTV. And although next-gen 5G will take advantage of higher frequencies to deliver data rates faster than 4G, these frequencies have a much shorter range and require line of sight. All network mobility is lost, and it still doesn't solve the root challenge of LTE in industrial settings, that RF can't travel through common industrial obstructions like thick steel or rock. So, how do industrial deployments get the robust performance and mobility of a LAN with the geographic coverage of a WAN? With Rajant Kinetic Mesh. As a metropolitan area network, or MAN, Kinetic Mesh is perfectly sized to connect geographically dispersed operations more efficiently and cost-effectively than LTE. And through its smart InstaMesh networking software, Which is built on 802.11 Wi-Fi standards, Rajant can extend the speed and capacity benefits of traditional Wi-Fi across your entire industrial environment. Plus, add new levels of mobility to power a true IIoT network. In fact, with Rajant, your assets are the network. Nodes can be deployed on anything that traverses the operating site, so vehicles and equipment can take robust connectivity with them wherever they go, and link to each other on the move. Rajant nodes work peer-to-peer, holding multiple connections over multiple frequencies at the same time. InstaMesh dynamically routes communications via the fastest path, even in the face of challenging network conditions. No outside intervention needed. In short, Kinetic Mesh can extend Wi-Fi speed and capacity outdoors, and bring continuous mobile connectivity to enhance LTE, filling the gap with pervasive mission-critical coverage and added V2V communications to work around dense obstructions. Build on what you have and bring the best of all worlds together with the only choice for IIoT networking. Rajant Kinetic Mesh.
As to why Rajant decided to invest in Eastern Kentucky in the Appalachian region, it was just a bit of a bluebird in our life as a company. I was talking to a fellow who's a lawyer up here about our desire to expand, and he said to me, he said, "Have you ever considered Eastern Kentucky?" And I said, "Well, why no, I haven't." And he said, "Really, you should consider it." Through the good offices of Congressman Hal Rogers, arranged for me to make a visit to the area, and the people here couldn't have been more welcoming to me, both at the local level, at the political level, the economic community level. Our first stop was Morehead State University, and I was introduced to Jeff Kruth at the Space and Science Center, and he gave me a tour, and I was blown away by what I saw in terms of capabilities from a physical perspective. I mean, the equipment and how that building was outfitted was really impressive. But more importantly, I got to see what the students were doing, and they were 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're tracking satellites for NASA and hand building satellites and doing hardware development and software development and testing and very, very sophisticated work at a young age. And as I went around with Brett on my tour, I was continually impressed by the people that I met. And ultimately, any business decision comes down to the people. And what drove the decision to invest in Eastern Kentucky was the nature and quality of the people that I met then and have gotten to know since. The attributes that we really considered important, and in general consider important, are smart, reliable, trustworthy people. And as I got to know the people of Morehead, it became clear that those attributes exist in this community in abundance. Another element that's critical to any business is do people work hard? Do they consistently apply themselves across the workday? And everybody we've hired here has met that standard. What we find with Morehead State graduates is they're extremely well prepared. We've hired many from the Space and Science Engineering program. Across the board, they're doing software, hardware, fabrication, testing. They come out of Morehead as graduates extremely well trained in really all areas of engineering that we need. And so when they go to work for Rajant, they're effective and useful from the first day. And of course, it's not just the engineering students, the other folks we've hired. They bring a background of intelligence and hard work. And with that, you can accomplish a lot, and we have. We have young people designing computer hardware. We have them traveling all over the world to support Rajant customers. This is a hidden gem down here in Eastern Kentucky. More people, both US business people and international people, ought to come to the area, and they would do as well as we have.
Awesome. So glad when technology works like that. Hope you all were able to see the videos, have a better understanding of what we do. We're going to jump right in. I've got a fantastic panel of a lot of those names that you saw in that last video and probably even saw in person on the job. Really cool stuff. So in no particular order, can you say your name, the role in Ragent, and also where you went to high school and where you grew up, which will probably can tell you where you grew up.
I'll go ahead and start. I grew up in Paintsville, Kentucky, and I went to Paintsville High School. It's in Far East Kentucky. I went to Morehead State University as my bachelor's degree and also my master's degree. I ended up graduating with a systems engineering master's, and I've had many hats at Ragent, and I'm working with inventory newly as of a couple weeks ago. So I'll be doing procurement and a couple other things for manufacturing here at the Morehead office.
Sure, and I'll go next. My name's Matthew Harden. I originally went to Madison Central for high school, and I'm from Richmond, Kentucky. I also went to MSU and graduated with just a bachelor's degree in space science. I currently work on IT and firmware.
Go ahead, Chris.
So my name is Chris. I originally went to Robertson County. That's where I'm from, a small town called Mount Olivet. I graduated with roughly 28 people or so, but I also graduated from MSU in 2016.
I'll go next. I'm David Mays. I went to Menifee County High School, which is in Menifee County, obviously. It's about an hour and 20 minutes east of Lexington. I graduated from MSU with a bachelor's of space science and space systems engineering. And I'm also currently pursuing a master's in electrical and computer engineering at Johns Hopkins. And I'm a systems engineer with Ragent.
My name is Jonathan Lacey. I went to Round County Senior High School here in Morehead, Kentucky, where the operation is as well. Attended Morehead for a few semesters, realized that was not for me, and then came on here as a bench technician / assembler. So I'm just building and installing the radios together and making sure they test properly and get them ready to ship out the door.
I'll go next. I'm Jim Tom Trent. I'm from Morehead, Kentucky. Went to Round County Senior High School. Went to Morehead State University. Graduated with pre-law and journalism, and went on to law school at NKU. Then it was known as Salmon P. Chase College of Law. Later became mayor of Morehead, and was very fortunate during my tenure as mayor that this small company from Pennsylvania came and went on a tour of our area. And through the city, the county, some state involvement, university, we were able to very fortunately convince Ragent to come here and set down roots, and that they have tenfold. And I'm now currently a city council member, and I work in new business development for Ragent. My job is to work as a go-between between sales and marketing, and trying to set up opportunities for all of our sales folks who are now doing business in over 60 countries across the world. So very blessed to have had a part in getting Ragent here, and even more blessed for working for such a great company.
Brad.
Sorry, there's, I didn't know. Brad Fike, I'm the senior hardware director at Ragent. I grew up in Berks County, PA, which is very, very similar to Rowan County. In fact, I went to Daniel Boone Area School District. So old Daniel, he was cutting a path from Tennessee to PA apparently back in the day. I have a BS in Comp Sci from Albright College in Pennsylvania. Also an associate's EET electronics from the Air Force. That's about it. What do I say?
Alice, real quick, he's very, very timid about that. He is a Army and you're a 2-time veteran. Is that right,
Yes,
Brad?
that is correct.
Yeah.
I always want to mention that.
Well, thank you. I just, I was just trying to keep it simple, but yes, I was in the Army first and the Air Force.
Well, thank you all for introductions. So I say I am a displaced New Yorker. I have been down here in Louisville, Kentucky it'll be 5 years in July, and love every minute of it. How does somebody like me get into marketing for a company like Rajant? I went to school in Pennsylvania, and just by coincidence, and majored in a double major for marketing and human resource management. Okay, so let's just jump right in. I'm going to ask a few people each of the questions that I have on tap. The first one is going to be, what got you to the path for tech? And we're going to start with David Mays.
All right, Alice. Well, in high school, I always liked tech, but I never imagined I could get into it here because at the time it didn't seem like there was a lot of opportunities. But then Morehead State started offering dual credit opportunities with my high school, specifically with the Space Science Center. That, along with the Data Seam Space Movie Project, where we made a video in a competition about a concept in space science, really got me into tech. So those outreach activities really did. Eventually, I started volunteering at the Space Science Center, and I was hired as an undergrad research assistant. And at that point, my path was sort of chosen for me. I sort of fell into it in a way, but I loved every minute of it. And that eventually led into an internship with Rajant, my studies at the Space Science Center. And that's where I am. That's how I'm here today.
Fantastic. Jonathan.
Yeah. So while I was at Morehead for the short time I was there, I ended up getting hired by a company to install all the cables and run the new internet for Morehead State's campus. So I was a cable puller for probably a year and a half. And at that time, I very much enjoyed working with my hands, being able to physically see the work that I had done and look back at the day and be like, wow, like I got a lot accomplished. So after that, I went back to random jobs, basically, trying to find a place where I could do that again. And then a few years later, Rajant had posted that they needed assemblers, and liking what I did with Pomeroy running the cable and being able to see that, I decided that I liked the idea of working with tech and still being able to use my hands and see my process. So at that point, it was an easy decision to try to come on board, and I was blessed to be accepted and get to be part of this.
Awesome. That's terrific. Thank you. Maria, I think we just might have lost Maria. So I'm going to go on to Brad and wait for Maria to come back.
Okay. I knew I was into tech from the time I was a little kid. I was always the kid that was taking their stuff apart, not always great at putting it back together. But that came around eventually. And I think it's important to mention whatever career field you pursue, you should have a natural interest in it. It makes the schooling a lot easier, makes you more invested in your job. I mean, you can't really force that kind of thing. So I've noticed the people at Rajant, they would be in their career fields whether they had gone to college for it or not. You know, everyone seems to have a natural interest in tech.
Excellent. Maria.
Sorry, guys, I dropped out for a second. I'm sure it's the Wi-Fi, but when I was in high school, I really wanted to look at what industries were growing. My dad I'm really close with my family, as I'm sure a lot of you are from the East Kentucky area. My dad was really adamant about getting me involved in growing industries, something that I would have a job. You know, I would study in school and get a job out in the world that I could use and like. And I was really into math and sciences. That was what I felt great about, I was confident in my math and science skills, and I toured Moorhead, and from the time that I toured, I just knew that this was going to be a place that I lived for the rest of my life. It feels like home. It is my home now. It's been home for 8 years. And the Space Science Center, I was really able to get involved from the get-go. They got me involved in testing, and from 8 years ago even, I have used skills that I learned there at Ragent now. So it has been a really good opportunity, and I've been really thankful to be a part of something like this. And
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so let's say, are there any activities that students can do to build for a future with companies like Ragent? And we'll have Chris start out.
So there are plenty of activities that students can do to prepare for a future with companies after college. And one of the things I would recommend is just familiarize yourself with the type of work being done at companies that you could be interviewing for after college. Connect with people, create a LinkedIn account. Like your sophomore year, you should sit down, create a LinkedIn, start listing all the skills and stuff that you're learning, any summer jobs that you do. I worked 4 different jobs in manufacturing before I actually got this job, and it made my resume look terrific. Some of the other stuff you can do is invest in yourself to go above and beyond, learn some different skills that interest you. Doing stuff like that is going to make you highly marketable to different employers. If they see that you've worked different jobs during the summer, they're going to say, man, that person stepped up. They kept working even when they didn't have to. They didn't go out, and you can still take vacations and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But they stepped up, and you learned different skills that were outside of college. Some of the stuff that I did other than working other jobs was I basically got my ham radio license. I started learning electronics. I actually have a full RF lab at my house now, and it doesn't even pertain to work, but I still play with stuff. So and I've almost created my own business doing that just for fun. So that's my answer for that question.
That's awesome. How about Jim Tom?
Well, I've always been interested in tech. My brother is one of these we call here in the country. He's the car whisperer or the computer whisperer. What that means is he has no formal training on anything, but he takes a computer apart and figures out what makes it work and puts it together. Now, there's probably 14 or 15 parts left over that he doesn't know where they go. But lo and behold, through trial and error, he taught me a lot of those some of those same things. And, I've always been very interested in tech. When I went to school, at the time I went to school many, many, many moons ago, there wasn't even really a computer class on campus. I graduated Moorhead State in 1990. It was so long ago, our class pictures were in black and white. That's supposed to show you how long ago it was. But anyway, at the time, there was very few opportunities open. One of the things I did look at was radio TV. And of course, radio TV at the time was changing. MTV had just been going along about 3 or 4 years, and learning how to do blogs and all that was all predicated on doing music videos and that kind of thing. So I've been a DJ also on the side for about 30 years. So all those things kind of meshed. And when you do that, you have to have an interest in tech, how amplifiers work, not to cross your wires and do all this kind of thing. So I've always had that interest. I've always been a big techie. I saw the original Star Wars. So, come on, man. You stand in line seeing the original Star Wars. If that doesn't get you fired up for tech, that means your wood's wet. So listen, let me tell you, I just love it. These young guys and gals here, they look at me when I ask them things over and over again, but they're great to help us old guys who are unlike Brad, who doesn't have the background in it, learn about things. And I think the day you stop wanting to learn is the day you'll wither away. So I always want to learn whatever it is in whatever field. And it's such an exciting field. Come on, you get to come to work and there's robots and drones. And are you crazy? Even if you don't like that stuff, it's pretty cool.
Thank you, Jim Tom. You're right about that. Matthew.
So I think we focused a lot on like the things you can do that are like work related, stuff like that. But I think going back to what Brad said of doing something that you really love and enjoy, the best thing you can really do to figure out your career path would be to just experience stuff. So I know whenever I was a high schooler, a lot of the things I did was just hanging out with friends and just kind of lazing away, right? I really wish the thing that I would have done differently would have been to try and experience the different things that were out there. So like the putting together electronics whenever I was a kid, because it turned out I really loved it. I only discovered that whenever I got to college. Taking apart the lawnmower, I did do that. It didn't go back together, but I did do it. And I think also looking at general options for like internships, because I know whenever I was in high school, I didn't know that existed. But it turns out that there are some programs that take high school students to do like space stuff for NASA and like industry stuff for different commercial grade industries. They'll take high school students because they're trying to find if you would like that and make a better employee whenever you get through college. So I think that's probably my best input I can give.
Excellent. And Maria?
So I'm going to kind of piggyback off of Matt. Back in high school, I was just taught to keep good study habits, set attainable goals for myself, and really in searching what I had a passion for, I didn't think that it would have been the tech industry. I was, like I said before, I was mainly focused on mathematics and sciences. So I thought that I would do something medical, or I thought I would pursue something else. But when I got to Moorhead, I realized that technology and this industry, as a woman especially, was something that I knew that I could get involved in, and I feel like women are passionate about this in general, and we don't really have a voice in this industry. So I was very thankful that the Space Science Center was open to me and getting me involved with all of the technology that I wasn't accustomed to in high school. I went to a really small high school, so we really didn't have many outlets. But once I visited MSU, I was able to start learning on my own, like in the tech, especially the industry here. I basically just Googled like what was going to be growing, what was going to be happening. It's all out there now. But I really just tried to stay organized, tried to stay focused on what could continue giving me a job, what I would like doing in the future, and what I could continue growing in as an adult. And it just so happened to be this, and I really love it, and I'm thankful for my education and Rajant as a company.
Thank you so much, Maria. Okay, so oftentimes you hear about coming to the fork in the road, and that starts at a very young age. If there's one thing that you would do differently as a young person to prepare for your professional self, what would it be and why? And we'll start with Jonathan.
Good timing. Yeah, through high school, kind of like Maria, I was told study habits, just make sure that. So by the time I got to my senior year, I had enough credits to graduate. So I took one college class on campus every morning. They were dual credits. And then I took one class at the high school, and it was always a gym class because I played multiple sports, and that's what I wanted to do. And that was all I did all day. I had two classes because it was my senior year. I wanted to be lazy, and I wanted to have fun and not have to work and worry about things. Looking back, I knew I wasn't going anywhere to play a college sport. I was not that good. So looking back, I definitely would have taken that time to take extracurricular activities like computer science or anything like that. Even if I didn't think I was interested, where I'm sitting today, I'm very interested, obviously, because I love my job. I love working hands-on with this type of technology. And it would have been nice to get that a little bit ahead of time, because once I got to college, I went in having no clue what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was passionate about. So just a lot of time down the drain. So I definitely would have taken the time that I had in high school to, like Matt said, experience different things and try different things and figure out what I enjoyed outside of two sports.
Extremely insightful. Christopher.
So, okay, 1 second. Yeah, I would highly recommend extracurricular activities also early on, and not only in like college, but definitely high school also. Trying to figure out what you want to do is very important. Like, you're going to be doing this for a long time. You want to invest in yourself to basically, find something you're really going to enjoy, because you don't want to have to switch jobs later on in life. One of the things that, when I started at the Space Science Center for the Space Science degree, I wasn't really involved all that heavily. I was so focused on school. I was so worried. Like when I was in high school, I had taken 6 advanced placement courses, and I actually had a dual college credit course that was with the outreach program with the Space Science Center. So I had a full plate in high school, and then once I got to college, I just started right away, and I was always focused on class. And even in high school, I was playing music too. So I never really played any sports, but I always had a full plate, always had a lot going on. And when I got to college, it was the same way. And I highly regret that, because I didn't invest myself into other activities to actually see what was going on. And it wasn't until my junior year and my senior year that I was working on CubeSat parts, or working in the machine shop, or learning about radio frequency equipment and, testing stuff, which is stuff that I love to do now. So, but even doing that, like the earlier you look into these extracurricular activities, and even high school and college, you're going to create these long-lasting relationships that will actually lead to possibilities for internships and even the job that I have now. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you so much, Chris. Maria.
So kind of exactly what Chris said. Really what I did to prepare myself, I looked at areas that reflected my interests and skills, and I tried to do as many things that I could and get involved in as many programs that I could that would build those long-lasting relationships or those long-lasting skills that I take pride in now. I would have liked to have taken college classes in high school if I had the opportunity. I would definitely recommend getting some of those basic courses out of the way if you have the opportunity to. I didn't have time for that in high school, but my sister did actually. So she now has an associate's degree coming in as a freshman at MSU just this past year. And so really just take as many classes as you can, basics that will give you the basic knowledge of what do I want to do, what would I like to pursue, and in taking those basic classes, you can kind of pick and choose, or like divvy out which ones you're not interested in. And once you get the basic knowledge of, oh, this is what I think I would like to do for the rest of my life, pursue that full fold, take as many classes as you can. I would recommend building as many relationships as you can in all the different fields, and keeping that, like Chris said, it can be beneficial down the road. You can get internships, jobs. You can build long-lasting relationships with a lot of people.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so next question. What were the top 3 things you'd recommend for picking a college to support your professional future? And we'll start with Jim Tom Trent.
That's a great question, Alice. Having grown up here and having had a father who was in education at the public school level for 44 years, that was ingrained in me, very fortunately, very early. What I enjoyed and reason I picked Morehead State and later NKU, the law school, was the size of the school, the ratio of teacher to student. I had a choice to go to Chase College of Law, University of Louisville or University of Kentucky, also had a choice to go to University of Kentucky in undergrad. And I chose Morehead State because of the size and because of the student to teacher ratio. I think it went from about 28 to 1 here, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, to over a couple hundred to 1 at the other places. And the reason I say that is, regardless of how well you do in high school, or if you struggle in high school, at some point in your career, in your college or graduate career, you're going to need some help with something, and either to clarify something or to maybe even help from your advisor choosing an alternative career path. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty high with people who don't stay necessarily with their original freshman career path all the way through graduation. So going somewhere that has a campus that is very accessible, safe. My plug for Morehead State University is we're consistently the safest state university in the state. There are other ones that are safe as well, but the ratio of teachers to students and the area that surrounds it, you're going to be living there for 4 to 5 years, maybe longer if you go to graduate school. So I think take all those things into consideration. And also, this day and time, you have to look at cost as well. Not everybody can get a full ride, but those are the things that I'm glad I chose, the 2 schools I did, look back on.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim Tom. Jonathan.
Yeah, so this is probably going to go against the grain on the other answers, but my biggest thing is to make sure college is right for you and make sure it's what you want to do before signing on that dotted line. As someone who went to college for multiple years before realizing that it wasn't for me, I don't learn that way. Sitting in front of a PowerPoint does nothing for me. I walk away with nothing. I am a hands-on learner. And if I would have known that before, I would have saved a lot of time, a lot of money, and I probably would have went to a trade school or something like that. And honestly, with the internet today, anything you want to learn is at your disposal. You can get your hands on just about any tool to learn anything you want. And I'm sitting here in a job that I love, where I get to do very hands-on stuff with tech that I love, and I didn't graduate. So I have a lot of money into something that I didn't really benefit from, but through it, I did get experiences that got me here. So not completely useless, but that's my biggest thing. Make sure that is what you want to do before you sign on that dotted line.
Important to share for sure. Chris.
So one of the things, the first thing I recommend is look at where the location of the college is. I know Maria had talked earlier about family, and if most people from Kentucky or most people from anywhere, they want to stay close to home. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can go wherever you want, but just remember when you do go to college, call your mom and dad because they enjoy it. Like trust me, they love hearing how you're doing. They love hearing about, all the stuff that you're doing and all the skills that you're learning and all the new friends you're making and stuff. So that's the first thing I'll mention. The second thing I'll mention is student loans are real. As Jim Tom mentioned, not everybody can get a full ride. Even with I had at one point with all the AP classes and everything else, something called the Commonwealth Diploma. I was like 3 points away on my ACT from a full ride and I didn't get it. I still am paying student loans after 6 years. And that's fine. I have a terrific job. I have terrific friends that I work with, and I have a loving family, and it was worth it. But just please, when they are very real. Just when you look at this kind of stuff, look at the cost of the attendance for the degree you want. If you're going for an associate's, whether it be a bachelor's, or even in the future, if you want to go for a master's, just really sit down and compare it, and then look at the average salary of the jobs you might be doing once you finish school. That's going to determine, there's interest rates and stuff like that with student loans. That's going to pile on further and further down the line. So just kind of read about it, talk to your family about it, talk to your mom and dad or whoever, even a brother and sister if they've gone to college, just to see what that's like. And, that will kind of give you an idea of how long it might take to actually pay back those loans. And then the last thing is, I would say just take a look at the achievements and other activities offered by the program you want to go and be involved with. The Space Science Center, they've put several CubeSats into space. That was one of the big reasons and big pulls after doing the dual college credit course that I wanted to go there. They've done a lot of fascinating stuff, and I've gotten to put my hands on some really cool stuff and actually help them work with NASA on different projects. And it's very cool, but also very humbling. It's like, wow, this was actually put onto a rocket, and we got to watch a CubeSat actually be launched from like 2 miles away at Wallops in Virginia. And, David can attest to that. Like, we were there side by side watching this. And it's like, how awesome is that? So that's all I have to say about that answer.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so I would love for somebody to share the most memorable professional experience that they've had to date. And I'm going to call on David for that to start.
Okay. I would say my most memorable experience to date was being able to represent Rajant in Greece for the Shell X Prize Ocean Discovery Contest in 2018. So that was an international competition geared at autonomous mapping of the ocean. And what we provided was a drone-based antenna system to achieve long-distance communications to the autonomous boat miles out to sea that is actually doing the mapping of the seafloor. So the drone would automatically find and point its antenna at the boat, and the boat had a scanning antenna that would do the same. So that was an amazing technical challenge in its own right. Very stressful at the time. We learned a lot. It wasn't perfect, but it worked out in the end. Came away with a lot of experience from that. And it was incredible to showcase something I worked on in an international world-class competition, and to be able to see a country vastly different from the United States. It's certainly something I would not imagine being able to do in high school, for instance, and it's something I'm thankful that I could participate in for Rajant.
Yeah, that was so cool. We won the Moonshot Award, which is all about, applying your whole self completely outside the box. Really cool stuff. Okay, so how about Brad? Brad, you want
Brad. Okay, is that better? I really don't know where to start. My experience in the Army was physically and mentally challenging. It was great being in the Air Force during the period. That period I was working in intelligence, doing cryptography for the Air Force. It was Cold War time, and nothing physical or exciting happened, but the work that we were doing was important. AT&T Bell Labs. I ran several clean rooms and was a supervisor for a couple shifts, and that was rewarding, growing people's careers, and I got a couple patents while I was there. And finally, with Rajant, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the big sports organization where they may or may not use football. Okay. Traveling around for the NFL for us to get on the field. I did 7 games, and that was pretty surreal. And of course, all my friends were jealous, but especially because I'm a hockey fan and they knew that it was just work. But I've had a really interesting career because of tech. Just really neat stuff just keeps coming my way. And I'm 55, and I'm learning that I can't learn enough. I just can't possibly know enough to do my job right. I'm hoping that some of these young people come along behind me when I retire and are better than me.
Thank you, Brad. Matthew.
So I would say this experience is more of a experience that resonated with me more than it was. I guess it's memorable too, but and it wasn't necessarily a demonstration of tech, but it was more a demonstration of the morality of Ragent. So when I was an intern for Ragent, we all went up to Malvern, and we were in the middle of what we call all hands, which it's essentially the whole company gathers up in a small place and we talk about everything, right? Well, in the process of all hands, Ragent used to be linked to like a recuperation center. Yeah, people who were disabled were getting back to able again, right? And I see our CEO stop at a guy trying to get out of his car door, and he has a wheelchair and he's trying to like leverage himself into the car. And so our CEO stops the whole company and helps this guy get in his car and helps him load up his wheelchair and stuff. And to me, that really resonated with me, because tech is cool and all, but if you don't believe in what you work on and who you work for, it's a lot harder to do your job. And so I think in that aspect, that was really memorable for me.
Excellent, Matthew. Thank you so much. Jim Tom.
Well, probably, I guess it does have tech rolled up in it, but I had the honor of being the mayor of my hometown that I grew up in. And that 4 years of angst, anxiety, excitement, and all that goes with it was the highlight so far. And I've had many. I've been very fortunate. I worked with the administrative office of the courts here for the state of Kentucky in foster care. And there was a lot of great things that happened there that I got to experience, some not so great. I got to work for an Operation Unite, which is a huge drug prevention program started by Congressman Rogers, again, who helped Ragent come here. That was in Eastern Kentucky. I was very fortunate to work for them. I've had a chance to work for the school system, just different jobs that I've always worked with in some way with youth. And my father, again, as a 44-year veteran of the school system. My mother worked with the school system. My brother's a police officer. So in a small town, you when you get to serve your community that has helped raise you and helped mold you into the person that you are, it's the greatest honor I've ever had besides being a father. So I've learned a lot, learned so much so that I'm not running for re-election again. That's how much I learned. So, but anyway, no, really, it's and working with all these young folks coming in here and soaking up all of the energy and all of their talent is amazing. I can't tell you how proud I am and honored to work with such a great company and a CEO who's been my friend now since they came here 6 years ago. And Matthew's exactly right. Our CEO is what you see is what you get. He's the most genuine person you'll ever meet. And if that video that explaining about Eastern Kentucky didn't tell you, there was no fluff there. That's exactly how he is. So it's a good question. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this question kind of goes with what the last few statements were about. So, high tech can be a double-edged sword, right? There's talk about robots replacing people's jobs. There's issues around data privacy. So is it important, or how do you stay on the nobler side of science? And is that important to you? And how do you balance that equation? And I'm going to turn to David to answer this question first.
Okay. So, that's a difficult question because technology can and often does displace human jobs. There's no sugarcoating that. But our mission, should not be to replace human jobs in, creating technology and products and such, but rather to augment humans and take the jobs that aren't a good fit for us. For instance, repetitive things, complicated computations that you'd have to do it day in and day out, things requiring extreme consistency, and especially things that are unsafe. Technology, it frees people up to work on more enjoyable, enriching, and safe work. So that should be the goal. And even when technology does displace jobs, typically more jobs are created related to that technology. So a lot of times it's pretty painful, but in a lot of cases it ends up being better in the long term. And you can think about how computers displaced people doing manual calculations day in and day out for their jobs. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people lost their jobs, but now everyone has a computer, and likely a lot of those people ended up using computers to just make their jobs easier.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Matthew.
So I kind of like David's answer of it sucks, but it usually does end up being for the better. And a lot of what I consider the automation side, I feel like, especially in like the manual labor jobs, so from like 18 to 30, we use our bodies in order to make money. And then by the time you get to 30 and you're still trying to work and trying to get to that retirement age, you're breaking down in the same time. And so by the time you get to retirement age, you've worked all your life to either lay in a bed, be in a chair, or ache every time you move. And so automating, to me, at least in the manual labor aspect, frees those people from having the issues later on that can sometimes hinder total quality of life. So do I think it's going to be it's a painful transition no matter what you do whenever it comes to automation, but the overall gain, I feel, is probably in the positive, because while they may never know what they didn't experience, I'm sure the people before us can attest to the differences in quality of life at the later years.
Really keen perspective. Thank you, Matthew. And Brad.
You muted again.
By the end of this meeting, I'll have it down. Again, to piggyback on those guys, it's a really hard question to answer. I mean, you get into ethics, and we could probably teach a whole college course around the ethics. And one thing I'd shared with Alice was, for example, we're all able to have bananas on our breakfast tables, except there are entire South American countries who are based on raising bananas for us. And it's the person who wanted to get us fruit on our tables was not an evil person and didn't intend for that to happen. But we need to be aware of where we're going with this stuff. Another example I used is the horseshoe business. It's not so great these days. In the 1800s, it was booming. So does that make the inventor of the car a bad person? I think, and this could get very political and goes into what we've experienced here in PA in what we call the coal regions, loss of jobs. Technology has changed, and it's unfortunate. I don't have the answers, but we just need to be aware of the result of tech and our actions.
Excellent. Thank you, Brad. Well, that is the end of the questions that I had for everyone. So we'd love to open it up to any questions that the students have that are coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys for such a great session, and really appreciate hearing everything about Rage and what a great company it's going to be. I don't have any questions from the students in the chat, but one of the questions I had, and I think it's always important to hear from, is what was your first job coming out of school that kind of led to your progression and how you got to where you're at today?
Okay, who wants to field that question?
I'll go. It has nothing to do with tech and everything to do with my dad worked in the school system. He was like, you need a job. But I did build long-lasting friendships. I was a painter at my high school. I painted the walls at my high school, and I got to work with a lot of great people. I got to see behind the scenes at my high school. I got to know a lot of very respectable people that I didn't normally get to talk to or see as a high school student, and it was very humbling, and it was a very great experience. That was my first job.
That's awesome.
I got some perspective on that, Maria. That's exactly right. you get out, you want to get in and start making money and start becoming someone who's responsible for your own being. But something I wanted to say is earlier on, if I can tell these students something that I tell my own daughter who's getting ready to graduate, she's 18, is work, find a job, even as a menial as it may seem, find a part-time job. If you could, the thing I see from my position that I've had before professionally is soft skills nowadays are what are lacking. Often people will have very similar resumes, they'll have very similar backgrounds as far as education, but if you can do soft skills, and I'm going to tell you how I give talks to schools all the time. I call it the value of up. Okay, the value of up is if you can get up, show up, and look up. That means look about your surroundings and do what you're supposed to do. If you can do those three things, it's unbelievable how far you will go. I know people in large industries that have trouble finding people to work. People say, oh, there's no jobs. Well, no, there's no jobs in the pie factory, as my father would say. You're not going to be a pie taster right off the bat. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to show up and work at 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe 10 o'clock at night. You're going to have to get a job that allows you to do the things you want to do in life. So I would tell people, learn the soft skills. Learn how to iron your clothes, tie a tie, wash your clothes, cook, hail a taxi, ride a subway. Learn those typical things. People think that's crazy, but the people who do that and who are most comfortable, they will have the better opportunities. When it's even, that'll nudge you a little bit ahead of the others, I guarantee you.
Thank you. All right. Well, Alice, you had one?
No, I just wanted to see if anybody else wanted to say anything about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for everything. I'm going to go ahead and kick it back over to Harper to wrap us up for the day. But thank you all again for all of your insights and stories. I think for any high school student out there, this is a great opportunity to learn. And if you guys have any interest in working for Ragent, please feel free to reach out and we can get you in contact.
Jim Tom, I see you have your hand raised.
One last thing, Matthew or Chris said it best. When you go to school, call your parents. I want to piggyback on that. Do you all know, all you high school students out there know what Sunday is? Sunday's Mother's Day. Go get your mother something and don't be cheap about it. Okay? That's from an old dad who lost his mother 22 years ago. Go get her something nice. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. Great note to end on. Don't forget to get your mom a present or whoever serves as the mother in your life. So thank you guys so much for an awesome session. I know I learned a lot. What a great company. And it sounds like you all really love working there. So thank you all so much. And we'll see you all next Workforce Wednesday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.